Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to teach you how to quickly delete blank rows in your Excel database by using a macro. This is especially useful if you have a very large set of data in which it wouldn't be feasible to delete the blank rows manually. So first thing, I'm just going to open up the VBA text editor. You get there by going to Sheet 1, you right click and then go to View Code. So I already made a new module here and a new sub. It's just called delete blank rows. Doesn't matter what you call it. So I'm going to loop through each of the rows of data in our data set, and I'm going to check whether or not the row is blank. So for each I in range A2 to A30, if application count A I dot entire row equals 0, then now before I go any further, I just want to explain this. I'm using the count A function, which will only count a cell if it's non-blank. So we're using the count A function and looking at every single cell in the entire row. Now if you get a value of 0, that means there are no non-blank cells in that row, and therefore the entire row is blank. So if that is the case, we just want to delete the entire row. I dot entire row delete, and if next I. Okay, so let's start up the macro and see if it works. Okay, so you'll see it sort of worked. It deleted some of the blank rows, but for some reason it left a couple in here. Why is that? Well, let's look at our original data set. The reason why it happened is because we have some instances in which there are multiple blank rows in succession. And as the macro runs through the loop, let me just show you what happens. So it'll come to row number 7, find that the entire row is blank, delete it, and then it won't realize that it has another blank row on its hands, and it will just move on to the next row. So how can we get around this? Well, what I'm going to do is, rather than deleting the rows as we move through the loop, I'm going to create a custom range and then delete that range after the macro or after the loop has completed. So I'm just going to call this range RNG. And just to make sure that that range is nothing, I'm going to explicitly set it to nothing. Okay, so let me explain what I did here. If RNG is nothing, then we're going to set RNG to the current range in the loop. If that's not the case, then we're going to use the union function to combine those two ranges together. Now the reason I have to do this is because if you try to do a union function between something that is non-existent and something that is existent, VBA will not let you do that. So you have to add in this little if statement to check whether or not range is something. Okay, so now that we've created a range which will combine together all of those blank rows into one range, I'm just going to delete the entire range. So this is going to select each of those cells and then just delete the entire row. Okay, so switching back to our worksheet, let's give this a try. And it looks like it worked. Put that original data set back in there. Okay, looks like it still works. Alright, so I hope this video was useful. If you want a copy of the exact code I used in this, you can find the entire code listed on my website. That's benetticonsulting.com, and you can find a link to it in the video description. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So just leave a question in the comments, and thanks for watching.